All right, everybody, welcome to the Supts Vodcast. This is the first episode that we've done. This is my brother Andy. This is something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and we finally just decided, hey, we're going to go along with it and do it. This is the Supts Vodcast, and we are excited to bring you a mixed bowl of education and life, and hopes to inform you and inspire you throughout our shows.
Yeah, this is definitely something that's out of my comfort zone. So I'm pushing myself to put myself out there a little bit more. And today's episode is going to be a lot about, leadership and leading through a pandemic, and some of those traits that you want to instill in leaders. And so we're very excited. We have two great guests, and we hope you enjoy the first episode.
Yeah, we've got two superintendents on from the state of Illinois. They are just outside of the city of Chicago. They are tremendous leaders. I consider them probably some of the best superintendents the nation has to offer, and they've inspired me throughout my process as a superintendent. And hopefully we can bring you the human side of this position and education, and hopefully we can help you learn things about life and everything in general. So thank you for joining us, and we'll get right to the first interview. So welcome to our vodcast. And actually, vodcast, I didn't even know the term existed, because I wanted to do a podcast and I wanted to do a video because there's just not very many of it out there. And I think people capture the essence of more of your feelings and your demeanor if we're, at least face to face, and we can see some expressions and whatnot. And so, we picked you guys right away because, you guys started Soup Chat, and you guys, you probably don't know this, but you got me started on Twitter, and I've looked to you guys and looked up to you guys for a long time, and I was just with some seventh graders the other day, and I was giving them a bit of advice, and I said, best thing you guys can do right now is to start growing yourself professionally. And then as I was halfway through the conversation, I was like, wait, you're seventh graders, live your life. But I said, have a Twitter account or a Instagram account and start connecting with people and interests the same as you. And I kept on thinking of you guys because you guys got me started in this, and I've been growing professionally ever since. And so I appreciate that. So with us today, we have Dr. Nick Polak. He's a superintendent at Leyden High School. Is that Leyden, the town, or is it just outside of Chicago, or where's that exactly at?
Yeah, it's Leyden. It's named after the township. So we're sitting right outside O'Hare Airport. So if you think of O'Hare International Airport, we're all the towns on the east and the south border.
Gotcha. And your Twitter handle, if people want to follow you or find you, it's at NPOLYAK. And so take it from me, folks. He's one of the best to follow. If you want to, and I'm not taking anything away from Dr. Lubelfeld here, because he's just as good. Okay, there's no competition here. And then we have Dr. Michael Lubelfeld with us as well, and you're from North Shore School District, and I couldn't figure out where exactly that is, but that's got to be close, right?
Definitely close by to Nick. North Shore School District 112 serves children in the city of Highland Park, Illinois, and the city of Highwood, Illinois. We've got military housing on the former Fort Sheridan Army Base. We've got families who work at Naval Station Great Lakes. We actually also have families who work at the Fort Sheridan Military Reserve Base. What's weird about a lot of the school districts in suburban Chicago is we use numbers, not names, and we use names that don't reflect the city. So anytime we talk to friends like you guys from out of state, you're like, so where are you working? What are you? So North Shore 112 actually reflects the North Shore of Lake Michigan, north of Chicago. So again, it's kind of obscure, but we're about 25 miles south of the Wisconsin border, and we're about 25 miles north of downtown Chicago, just to give you a frame of reference. And Nick, like he said, he's right outside of O'Hare Airport. So together, we're sort of the greater Chicagoland metropolitan area, I suppose you'd say.
Well, I'm going to take my mistake away then, because if I wasn't supposed to know the town, then I'm taking that one away, and I'm mistake-free so far.
Absolutely.
But I already heard he's a Chicago Bear fan, and I'm sure you're a Chicago Bear fan, Chicago Cub fan, or a White Sox fan, which is
White Sox
against you guys, but it is what it is. So
Yeah,
Being a
Mike,
Chicago Bears
too.
fan is hard. Today was really torturous and painful. As we're recording this, the Bears lost a game that they shouldn't have lost. It was really rough today. It was bad.
I thoroughly enjoyed it myself because I'm a Detroit Lions fan.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you
Yeah,
had a great
and
game.
we don't have many celebrations, so we take them as we can.
Andy, I take this as a distinct privilege to meet the one Detroit Lions fan.
Just-
I wasn't sure where you were, so it's nice to meet you.
Especially the one Detroit Lions fan in North Dakota.
Right, exactly.
No,
Absolutely.
you might be the only Detroit Lions fan outside of Detroit, but you took the words right out of my mouth there, Dr. Polak. So, and you can find Dr. Lubefeld on Twitter at Mike Lubefeld, MikeLbefeld, and another great individual to follow for leadership, life, education, whatnot. Amazing. So yeah, go ahead, Andy.
Perfect. You know, you guys talked a little bit about kind of the area that you're in, but maybe talk a little bit more about your professional experience, how you got to where you're at today, maybe a little bit about your school, and just so we can and our viewers can understand who you guys are.
Nick, do you want to go? You want me to go?
Go ahead. Age before beauty.
All right. All right. So I have been a public school educator since 1993. I started as a middle school 8th grade social studies teacher, American history, world history, civics, and reading. I started in Bensonville, Illinois, which is on the other side of the airport from where Nick is. And I was there for about 4 years. And a coach, guide, and mentor named Jim Newland guided me into administration, guided me into graduate school and all of that. He saw things in me that I didn't see in myself, and he saw around corners in my career in the profession that I had no idea existed. So Jim encouraged me to, pursue my studies, get my degree, and then in 1998 I went to Highland Park, where I'm currently working. But there's been a gap, so I'll share that. So I went to Highland Park and I became a teacher. Another year of teaching 8th grade and 6th grade social studies, loved it. And I was doing my internship to be an associate principal. And so on a lark, I threw my hat in the ring. Lo and behold, in 98, I became the associate principal. So I got there in 97, went 98. 4 years middle school associate principals, 4 years middle school principal, 4 years assistant soup for student services in North Shore 112. Then other great leaders, guides, and guardian angels helped me out in my career, and I became a superintendent. I was a superintendent of a one school district in also near the airport. So that's the theme. We never leave O'Hare Airport. You'll find that. I don't know if it's odd or what, but that was in a town called Norwich, a district called Penoyer, and I was there for 3 years. And again, guides, mentors, coaches along the way saw their opportunities, and then I went to the Deerfield Public Schools. I live in Deerfield, raised my 2 kids, Maya and Justin, with my wife, Stephanie. We've lived here for about 17, 18 years. So I served as superintendent in Deerfield for 5 years. Now, mind you, all my superintendencies have been pre-K through 8th grade. Nick will share the contrast. Another oddity of Illinois is that in the 1940s, when most other states consolidated school districts into K-12 and reduced the numbers, Illinois let the 1940s pass us by, and we have 853 school districts for 2 million school children in a state with 13 million people. So we can kind of parse that out. Then I came to North Shore 112 in 2018. I've been here. I'm an 11-year superintendent. Currently, I serve 3,700 amazing children, pre-K through 8, 550 of the best educational employees, superstar teachers, ed support, leadership team. Oh my gosh, loving life. Crazy pandemic, but here I am, really proud to be with you. Travis and Andy, thanks a ton for bringing Nick and I on board. We really appreciate it.
Oh, we appreciate it more. And you said something like you never leave O'Hare Airport, and that's a joke around the United States. So once you fly in there, you never leave there either because it's always delayed. So that's a joke that I heard once. But
Yeah.
and then when we were recording the intro to this, I said Illinois, and so I really want to go bang my head against the wall. And so I'm either going to have to try to edit the S out of there because I'm just an idiot, or what.
Not
So
at
we'll figure that out.
Not at all.
All right, you're up, Nick.
Travis and Andy, did Mike leave me any time, or are we done for the night?
Well, that's a wrap. All right, it was good talking to y'all. Take care now.
No, if you have to say Illinois, we have to say like North Dakota.
Yep,
You really just
that's
draw it
fine.
out.
Fair enough.
No, just a little bit about my background. I grew up in Joliet, Illinois. Went to Joliet Catholic. Became a high school math teacher, and taught high school math. Had my mentor when I was first a teacher encouraged me to apply for a dean job early in my career, and that set me on a path into administration. And I was a dean, an assistant principal, and then I became a director of instruction. So I did curriculum and professional development in the school district. And at that time, my wife and I were starting a family. We now have 4 children, and we decided that I would apply for superintendencies kind of towards where my wife was from. And so we picked up, I got a job down near Peoria in central Illinois. So we picked the whole family up and moved down to Chillicothe, Illinois. And I became the superintendent for Illinois Valley Central School District, a unit district. So like Mike said, he's only elementary. I took over a unit district, which was pre-K through 12, of about 2,200 kids in central Illinois. We lived there for 4 years. We loved it. And then had the opportunity to come up to Leiden 8 years ago. And now I'm at a high school only school district. So I have 3,500 kids. The communities of Rosemont, Schiller Park, Franklin Park, River Grove, North Lake, Leiden Township. 2 really cool, big, comprehensive high schools. Very, very diverse student body. We are majority minority. We are majority low income. We're about 70% Latinx here and 29% white. But our white students speak over 30 languages.
Wow.
Because many of them are first and second generation Eastern European students. So Poland, Croatia, Ukraine, you name the country, we've got kids at Leiden, largely because of our proximity to the airport. A lot of people fly in and they find housing and they just settle. One of the unique things I think in my background is I've also been a school board member.
Hmm.
When I was working for a high school district as a building administrator, I took over a board seat for an elementary district where I was living. So I've kind of seen negotiations and school leadership from the board side, the teaching side, and the admin side.
That's pretty cool. Awesome. So we don't want to talk a whole lot about the pandemic, but of course we will touch on it a little bit because it's like all over the place right now. But how do your districts operate with the pandemic? Are you hybrid? Are you face to face? Are you completely distance learning? And then we can kind of share with you what we do here too as well. I don't care who goes first, age before beauty, or you both look like you're 25. So
There you go. I feel like it sometimes. Nick usually likes me to go first so that he can correct anything I said that's wrong. So here's the deal. In North Shore School District 112, last March, like pretty much the rest of the world, March, April, we shut down abruptly, no planning, no change, no anticipation. And again, really proud of our teachers, our families, everybody for stepping up and dealing with the March to June madness, okay? So in that time, we surveyed our families, our middle school students, and our teachers about remote learning. We also assembled a team of about 50 plus stakeholders, teachers, support staff, union leaders, parents, board members, administrators, and we said, okay, we got consulting help from a group called DM Group and said, what's the deal? We're going to come back in the fall. I want to come back fully in person, in some form or fashion. What are we going to do? So we came up with a plan for all in-person learning, for remote learning, and a hybrid learning model that we call the 50-50 hybrid, where we'd have 50% of the students in the morning and the other 50% in the afternoon, and parents would have choice to stay home. They had medical conditions, or other situations. We also agreed to let the public health experts guide the public health decisions because we're educational experts, we're not public health experts. Long story short, we invested millions of dollars into risk mitigation for safety, for the staff and for our students, and indoor air quality, PPE, tents, all that kind of stuff. We were able to open August 31st for all staff on site in campus with physical distancing and things and masking. And then we were able to open September 3rd for students in our 50-50 hybrid learning model. We were able to run that very effectively and successfully till October 20th. On October 20th, the Lake County, Illinois Department of Public Health shifted based on significant community spread of the virus to recommendation of all remote. We've been all remote since. Right now, we're looking at coming back if and when the numbers drop and if we get vaccines or testing or something shortly after sometime the first of the year.
That's interesting. I got a follow-up question for you here, but we'll go to Nick and see what he's got.
Okay.
I'll be more brief, Travis, so you can get back to Mike. He's the real star of the show. We set up a 25% hybrid, a 50% hybrid, and a full remote version of our school district. And we unfortunately, we've been fully remote the entire year so far. We were ready to institute our hybrids. We brought our teachers back and had them ready, and then the numbers took off near us. And so we had to pull back, and we've been fully remote again. The reality is we've been targeting an 8% positivity rate, trying to be at or below 8% positivity. And we've been about double that, sometimes triple that in our communities, and trying to get the case counts to 100 per 100,000. And we're about 6, 7, or 8 times that right now in our communities. And so, our teachers have just been doing amazing work and all virtual so far this year.
So do activities get to happen in your school district then when you're all distant learning or not?
We our fall sports season happened. Now our state rearranged all of the sports seasons. So they took football and they moved it from the fall to the spring, and they rearranged things based on the contact level of the sports. So the sports that they allowed to happen in the fall happened. And then we went to start the winter season. We got about 3 days in, and our governor shut it down. And so we've had no winter sports yet. Right now we can have no indoor clubs, sports activities, and we can only gather students outdoors in groups of 10 or less. And so we're in a bit of a holding pattern until the governor releases it a little bit.
Yeah, I serve on the High School Activity Association board here in North Dakota, and we had the very same discussion on whether to shift seasons like you guys did. And we've been fortunate to be able to have activities and face-to-face learning, but we too see pretty significant spread. And so, it's fortunate. The question I had for you, Mike, was when your teachers are doing distance learning, and are they doing face-to-face at the same time then, or are they doing 2 things at once, or do they have that on their plate, or do you have a separate section of teachers that do that?
No, Travis, I'm glad you asked. We chose early on with teachers at the table not to do high flex, the hybrid flex. We are not doing simultaneous instruction. So what we did K-5 is we have in person from the hybrid, we actually had about 85% of our families opt in. So because of the high numbers of the in-person, we were able to staff the K-5 in person exclusively with our own teachers. And then we asked for volunteer teachers, K-5, who wanted to be remote. So you can be a teacher at school A, and you can have students from schools B, C, and D who are opting for remote. And then you're the remote teacher, if that makes sense. So it's our own staff, K-5. You're at your home school if you're in hybrid, both AM and PM. You're at your home school for asynchronous, and you're with a district teacher for your virtual if you're K-5. Now in middle school, we had a little misstep, a little hiccup. Middle school, if you're in person, you've got a district teacher. If you're not in person, we thought it was a great idea, and it wasn't. So I'll say we learned from a mistake. In the summer, we thought it would be a great idea to hire the Illinois Virtual School. It's a fully accredited Illinois Virtual School. They've been doing online learning for 20 years. They're very good at it, and they are. The problem for us is it's 100% asynchronous. It's not live at all. So that was a complete shock to our system, and it really was not meeting our needs. They were fantastic in trying to work with us. It just didn't fit. So we've now gone with a live, synchronous, online provider, Proxima Learning, and knock on wood, so far it's working out beautifully. But the middle school all virtual is done with separate teachers to answer your question. We're all going to learn in about a year or two what was right, what was wrong, what worked, what didn't. What's neat about being public servants, as the 4 of us are, is sometimes we get to show really great things publicly. Sometimes we make mistakes publicly. What's neat is you get to a degree the grace and support of your board and everybody, so we can get back up and fix it. So yeah, that's where we are right now. I appreciate the question.
I find it very interesting how different parts of the country handle, the pandemic. In North Dakota, there's been a big push for in-person learning, um, but we had a requirement from the get-go that we had to offer distance learning if they wanted it. Obviously, there's going to be cases where kids are high risk or whatever, and they need to be at home. But we had quite a few at the beginning of the school year um, take that option. We started out in a hybrid mode for our high school students, actually our middle school and our high school, and then our elementary we were all in. But we've been going 4 days a week with Fridays as a distance learning day for everybody. So I just find it interesting and how everybody handles the situation, and you do what you can and you do what's best, hopefully for your kids, and you hope it all works out. So it's been working so far for us.
Nice.
It is
Yeah,
crazy,
we're.
Randy.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say we had more than 50% of our families opt out when we surveyed, even though we never actually got to put the hybrid in place. More than half of my families weren't comfortable sending their students. And I think there are some very unique things that have happened across socioeconomic and racial lines with the pandemic as well. So if we look at the data near us, the Hispanic families have been contracting COVID at much, much higher rates. And the African American families have seen deaths at a much, much higher rate. And so, different communities, I think, have very different feels based on how this has played out.
Yeah, it's crazy how it affects one person differently than another. It just, I mean, I know people that have got really really sick, and I know people that have got it and they didn't feel sick at all. The challenging part that we have, and Andy kind of feels it the same way, is right now we're 4 days in person learning, and we take the Friday for distance learning. But our teachers kind of do both. So if there's a distance learner, they're required to handle the distance learner and the face to face learner right now. And we don't have my district is 750 students, K-12, and so we don't really have the capacity to have a virtual center or virtual learning center and take some of our teachers and put them in one place and have them completely do virtual. And so the challenge we have is we're putting a lot on our teachers, um, and so that's why the Friday works for us, and it allows us to bring in students that are higher at risk, and it gives our teachers a time just to breathe and get prepared and to do that sort of thing. And so that's the biggest challenge we have. So like if we ever wanted to go 5 days, I think we'd have some pushback from our teachers. And totally get it. I mean, completely get it. And so somewhere along the lines, we've got to come up with a solution where we can get all kids back face to face, and that would be getting rid of the requirement to go distance learning, which I could see would be a very big issue. But you guys know that I'm like a mental health advocate, and
Yes.
I'm big on mental health, and so that was my next question. It was a lead in. Maybe you don't see it as much. I mean, you probably do see it, but how do you keep the morale of your students and staff, positive during a time like this? And I mean, school has all sorts of things. Pandemic is one thing, but if it wasn't the pandemic, we'd be dealing with other things. And so, how do you keep the morale of your staff and your students at a high positive rate?
Sure. Nick, do you want to go?
Sure. Travis, that's so, so important. We're hearing these stories of suicides and suicidal ideations across the country, and even in our state, the executive director of our superintendent organization has put in place free anonymous therapy for us, for the superintendents, if we need support. And so, I've been using the term shreds of normalcy. So much of what we've been doing is abnormal compared to what we're used to. So where can we get these shreds of normalcy to reconnect with people? And so for our students, being able to see their teachers and hear them, being able to have sports and clubs and activities to the degree that we are able to. We've been running all of our theater programming virtually since last March. So we've done all kinds of plays and musicals through Zoom and YouTube, and letting those kids still have a connection to their school. We do trivia nights every month. where people can log on and compete against each other in friends trivia or sports trivia, logo trivia. We just keep rolling them out, and kids. We do it for staff. We do it for kids, and personally, I've just been putting out video messages, almost like this. I turn on my camera, and instead of sending a long email, I just deliver a video message to the staff, and I send it out so they can see me and hear me. And our principals have done the same. They do a podcast every Friday morning so that they can communicate information, but also let people hear their voices and just get that little shred of normalcy back in their lives.
I think you said it best. I mean, connection, I think, is more important than anything that we can give kids is connection, a connection to someone or something. And, I've said it all along. I think the pandemic, even though it wants us to separate us and stay 6 feet apart, I think in many realities, we've all come closer together. And connection is so important. And I'm glad you mentioned that word. Mike?
Absolutely. So thank goodness we were able to be in person for 7 weeks. And that time allowed our teachers to start to make those connections, that human chemical interaction, especially for the youngest kids. We have ages 3 to age 14. So starting the year like that got the foundation for relationships and allowed the teachers to continue their learning moving on. Now, for the 15% who never came in person, we rely on our teachers' expertise at developing that distance relationship. So at the very core, it's all up to our teachers. Everything that is good about education really, I think, starts and ends with the teacher. Now that's the granular level. Taking it up to the school level, I've got 10 amazing school principals and leadership teams who've done from trivia nights with their faculty on Zoom to doing like ESPN halftime show spotlights on the teachers to your a big deal type of recognition. They've individualized how to keep the staff morale going. From a systems level here at the superintendent's office, I've got an assistant superintendent, a deputy superintendent, chiefs, folks who are really, really developing measurements. We're doing our surveys, we're doing our culture survey, we're doing our engagement survey. We're then publishing the results and acting on those results. Big picture, big, high level. We're also doing a social emotional landing page or toolkit. So we've got psychologists and social workers and speech language pathologists who are able to have some of those right here, right now. What are you going to do? We just started parent education seminars on Zoom with some local experts and psychologists. And as the superintendent, I think the biggest thing that I've been able to personally and professionally do is have clear and coherent planning, have integrity in doing what we say we're going to be doing, and communicating the heck out of it, like Nick said. Video, audio, print, rinse, repeat. And here's our plan, here's our why, here's the information we have. If it changes and we can make a change, we will. And if the information changes, but it doesn't change our plan, we won't. And really committing to our staff and our students and our community, safety, learning, and communication, the guiding principles, and not wavering from that.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Very good. The one thing that I'll say to follow up with what both of you guys said is that, it doesn't matter where you're at. As a superintendent, you're kind of on an island somewhat. And I think that's what's so cool about platforms like Twitter and any social media or being involved in an organization, because we're all going through the same thing and we're not going through anything alone. There's so many people out there. And I'm so fortunate to be able to, be on this call with the two of you today. And I'm taking notes as we're going. And so I appreciate that. But I just think talking with other people and being on social media platforms and trying to connect any way that you can really lets you know that you are not alone. There are a lot of people out there going through the same things, and we can do this together.
Absolutely. Nick and I are blessed to have each other to do a ton of professional opportunities. We sort of collect opportunities, experiences, and people, and we're very lucky about that. It's really fun. And one of the things that we teach and preach and support is the power of the network. And Andy and Travis, you guys are lucky because you're brothers. So you've got like a built-in bond, and you happen to do the same job, which is so neat and so cool. We find that really impressive. We have found that even in the most stressful times, and even in the most like receipt of attacks and uncertainty and fear and anxiety of our communities, the fact that we can process it and problem solve with other people that do the work really underscores the fact that we're not alone, not only in our profession, and we can cross borders and boundaries as we're doing tonight, but also in our professional associations. Nick and I are very lucky to be active in the AASA, the Illinois ASA, and other groups that are literally reaching out to help us. There's a Chicago area superintendent group, the Suburban Superintendent Association, and some of our friends, local guys and women are running it. Friday, there was a statewide seminar on Zoom, superintendents and stress. It was all about our mental health. And I thought it was really neat to spend time with about 150 of us on the Zoom with a few, doctors and psychologists and stuff talking about our own mental health. They gave us an assessment to do and everything. And it really underscored the importance that we, as the leaders, have to destigmatize and demystify mental health. It is just as important, if not more, than physical health and spiritual health. And it's okay for us to say, yeah, we need help too. But again, doing it together really strengthens our whole leadership. So thank you. Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in a lot of respects, if I didn't have the network that I've had for the last few years, I don't think I would have made it. I wouldn't have made it in this profession. And I can name 2 times in the last year where I've had to close my office door and I broke down and I just I lost it. And I have great support here. I've got a great board, great teachers, great staff, great communities. I mean, I couldn't ask for more support, but it just sometimes this job gets to you, and you need those moments. And I'm not afraid to tell people like, hey, we're human, and we have moments too. And I've had kids in my office where I've said, yeah, I take anxiety medication on a day-to-day basis because I have to, and there's so much stigma behind mental health and mental awareness, and it's mental illness, and it's getting worse. And I think people like us, if we can come out and just say, hey, we're here to support each other, we're human too, and we're going to connect with each other, those things are all good. And if we can get word out to others, that's awesome. So appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts on that for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Travis, we have a couple colleagues in Illinois that have been encouraging us to do this 3x3 challenge every day, to just pick up the phone and call 3 other superintendents in the state and just check in. No purposeful phone call, but just how you doing, what's going on in your world, and just create those connections among us. Because if we're left to our own devices, we can be very solitary creatures. And so just to do that and call it, Mike and you guys are brothers. Mike and I are work brothers.
Yeah.
And we talk to each other every single day through different media, and we're always in constant connection. But a lot of people don't have that. And so for somebody to just out of the blue give them a call and say, hey, I was just thinking about you, I want to know what's going on, spend 10-15 minutes. That's, we all have that in our day. We can all carve that out, but you have to be deliberate about it.
love that 3x3 challenge. Andy,
Good.
there's something we can bring to North Dakota.
Yeah, I like it. I wrote it down.
Me too.
So, you guys kind of touched on the mental health piece. So kind of moving in a different direction, we have a lot of superintendents that are ready to retire in the state. And so you're going to see this big influx of new and upcoming young superintendents. And most of them will hopefully be listening to this. And so if you guys could give them advice on one of the most important leadership traits that you could possess, what would that be?
I'm gonna let Nick go first because I probably would say stuff he's gonna say. He'll say it better, and then I'll have to say something different.
Yeah.
Guys, I love this question. To me, the number one leadership trait for success is humility. We've all learned the stuff.
Yeah.
We've all done the training. We've taken the classes. We've passed the tests. Whatever. The difference that I've personally seen, I've been a superintendent for 12 years now. The difference I've seen between successful superintendents and the ones who kind of bomb out and disappear are the humble ones make it, because they're willing to reach out and ask other people for help. They're willing to admit their mistakes. The people who lack humility, they try to do it alone. They take offense. They get defensive. They are type A personalities. And so I think, to me, if you can craft a very humble approach to the work, you're going to be successful because you're always going to reach out and get the help that you need, and you're not going to take yourself too seriously.
I love that. Absolutely love that, Nick. Yeah, I don't know how you're gonna follow that, Mike, but I know you're gonna.
I don't know. I'm telling you, he's the man. He's the guy. I learn from Nick every day. Don't kid yourself. Nick's awesome. In addition to what he said about the humility and then being willing to ask for the advice and listen to it, authenticity. You're going to work for a board of education, board of directors, board of trustees, whatever it's called. You're going to have 5 members, 7 members, 9 members, whatever it is. In Illinois, mostly our boards are 7. I know on the East Coast, some of the boards have 9. In North Dakota, do you have, what do you typically have for a board?
Can be 5, could be 7, can be 9.
So pretty much similar. Here's my advice as a 3rd district superintendent in 11 years. Be you. The board wants honesty. They want to know who you are. And if you fit, if the fit is there, like Nick said, you got the technical competencies, you've got the degrees, you've gone through the classes, you know what I'm saying, you know the levy, the budget, all that, whatever. Be you, because your personality is what's either going to stick or not. And people may not like you and may not fit. That may not be the spot for you to be successful. And that's also where some humility comes in. It's okay. Don't fake it at all because you're not going to make it, not in these jobs. Be you. If they can embrace and accept who you are, and if you can embrace and accept who you are, you're going to succeed and you're going to thrive and it's going to be really awesome. If you try to be what you think they want, you're going to be inauthentic and it's not going to work. So humility, absolutely. A far second would be anything that I say to Nick, but really be you and be okay with being you, which also goes to a lot of that mental health. You need to know yourself. You've got to be grounded. And the board and you have the most bizarre relationship ever. You're not friends, but you're friendly. They're your boss and employer, but you're the expert in the field. And we can keep going on with all of that. But you've got to just be honest, honorable, and be you. And if you don't fit with them, go somewhere else. There's going to be another district where you will, but don't try to blend or pretend because the job is too intense, as Travis was alluding to, right? It's too intense. You are going to come through, and you want to come through in a place where you're accepted, embraced, and appreciated.
Man, you guys are awesome. Absolutely. When you said don't fake it till you make it. I've been saying that for so long, like stop faking it till you make it. I always say be real and feel and let yourself heal if you have an issue or if you're having troubles. I mean, connect with people. I love the be you. I love that. It's awesome. Humility, I've been preaching that for a long time. So you guys are perfect for our first show. This has been awesome. But now we get to talk about, you guys can gloat a little bit about your books. You guys are putting out a 3rd book. Going to come out here in May, I believe, of next year, and you can order it already. And there it is, right there.
I have the cover, but it's it's a copy editing.
Not even reading it, The Unfinished Leader. I mean, and then Student Voice from Invisible to Invaluable. I mean, The Unlearning Leader. The titles of your guys' books are like just make me just want to jump for joy. I love the titles of those books. Go ahead and shout them out to people. Tell us the common theme, and I think we kind of get it, but from the titles. But share with us that experience and what you the process you guys went through with that.
Absolutely, thank you so much, Nick.
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, Mike was a middle school history teacher. I was a high school math teacher. We never really thought we were going to write books. we had this aha moment. We were super fortunate. We had this invitation a number of years back to go to the White House to an innovation summit with superintendents from across the country. And we were super jazzed up. And I think that was part of the spark for us. We came back and we went to this Future Ready Summit. It was the very next day. We got back from DC. We were back in Illinois. We went to this Future Ready Summit and we saw a video from a futurist named Jack Aldrich. And Jack was talking to a room of healthcare professionals. And he said to them, simple question I'm going to ask you. I want you to think about the traffic sign, the yield sign. So picture it in your mind, and I want you to raise your hand if you think a yield sign is yellow and black. And hands go up all across the place. And he says, great, that's the correct answer, as long as I asked the question prior to 1971. Because from 1971 to today, yield signs have been red and white. And the point he was trying to make is that we as human beings are really good at learning new information, but we're really bad at unlearning information that's no longer true. And so, if you ask that question to a group of folks, especially folks over 40, they're going to tell you that yield signs are yellow and black. And so Mike and I had this epiphany of like, holy cow, lay that over the top of education. What are all the things that we just have a hard time unlearning here? Why are we taking summer vacations off? Why are we putting desks in columns and rows? Why? And so that was our charge, like to help people be unlearning leaders, to clear the weeds, to get all the old stuff out, to make room for the new stuff that our kids need. That was really the beginning of that first book.
So the unlearning leader leading for tomorrow's schools today, in chapter 4, we talk about soup chat. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. So Nick and I met at the Illinois School of Advanced Leadership in Illinois. It's a superintendent. You've been a superintendent in your first couple of years. Now what? And how are you going to focus on you and your own personal growth? And how are you going to focus on your job and your real clear outcomes of growth? And you're with superintendents from all around the state, and it's very deliberate. So you're talking with people everywhere, right? After that ended, after about 2 years, the AASA had its second cohort of the National Superintendent Certification Program. Nick and I weren't seeking a license, and we weren't even seeking to leave Illinois. We were seeking to still fill our cups and still get development and thinking and growth, right? So we go to the AASA in Alexandria, Virginia, meet these amazing people from around the United States, from Washington State to Maine, people that we're still good friends with. So between the July session and the February session, there were no in-person sessions. So Nick and I are like, gosh, how can we stay connected to these amazing folks? Maybe we'll do a Twitter chat. So long story short, we talked to a few, superintendents like Pam Moran and Dan Frazier, who were using Supts chat, SUPTCHAT, not for a chat, but as a hashtag. We asked permission to use it. Boom, 6 years later, we're still doing Supts chat. Part of it was there's new ways to lead. Now, Nick and I also had coaches, guides, and mentors see things in us that we never saw in us, so we aim to pay it forward. So then all of a sudden, we're talking to our buddy PJ Capozzi, rock star superintendent in Northwest Illinois in Stillman Valley, just outside of Rockford, right? PJ's K-12 prolific author, speaker, just did a TED Talk. And we're like, what's something neat that's out there, like whatever. And at that time, Nick, PJ, and I, separate from one another, had been doing leadership as superintendents, making a ton of mistakes, making some successes, doing all the stuff, right? Doing our thing. And in my particular world, our school district in Deerfield had wanted to go one-to-one for years before I got there. We're going back to 2013 here. So they're like, yeah, figure out this one-to-one stuff. So we get a task force, we get people together, long drawn-out story. Who do I have presenting at the board meeting where the board's going to have to open up the purse strings, right? I have about 9 8-year-olds, 9 third graders who were part of a really cool pilot with their teachers and the principals and the directors. They did all this stuff. So you got these cute, beautiful, wonderful kids presenting to the board as articulately as anybody. And then literally when it came time, I said to the board, all right, so are you guys going to say no to them? I don't know if the board really appreciated my style as much as I enjoyed my style at that time. Long story short, though, the board voted yes. They went one-to-one. Nick, PJ, and I were like, student voice, students as leaders in the organization, meaningful leadership, having voice at the table. And we've got commentaries from high school students from my area, Nick's area, and PJ's area. Student voice is something about which we're really proud as well. And then Nick, tee him up and tell him, please, about the unfinished leader. I'm the prop guy.
Yeah, hold on. Bring it back a second.
Oh, okay.
Student voice is so important to me. Nobody built these buildings for the adults that work there. I mean, it's our profession, it's what we do, but nobody built them for us. They were built for the kids. So the fact that we don't engage kids at the leadership level to the highest degree possible, I think is unfortunate. And that's where the title came from invisible to invaluable. 5 years ago at Leiden, we started putting students on our school board. So we have 7 elected adults and we have 2 appointed students, one from each high school. And they sit at the board table, they get the same board packet, they're in every conversation that the board has. The only things they don't do are vote and go into closed session, but they do everything else. They go to the state conference with the school board. And so they are the representatives to the student constituency in our community. So if you've never put students on your school board or considered it, I would highly recommend it. My board members now would never let me take it away. They find it so valuable. But
I've touched it a
um,
couple times. I've gone down that road, and I think it's definitely valuable, and I want to do it. You know, part of it is, you have teachers, and teachers aren't at the board table, and so getting around that. But knowing that kids can't vote, they can't go into executive session, but their voice is absolutely valuable, is something. I'm going to get there for sure. Um, but
I can't wait for the day where one of the students that was one of our student board members runs and becomes one of the adult board members.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's going to happen one day soon, I'm sure. Um,
that's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Oh wait, and I hate to do this, but Nick would be mad if I didn't. So Student Voice was just translated into Chinese, and it has been released in China. So we're overwhelmed and really just beyond proud and humbled at that. And we had the good fortune to speak in China last year and 2 years ago on these topics. So again, just getting the word out and sharing about leadership is something that it humbles us because we're just blessed to have the opportunity. Thank you.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's absolutely. I can't wait to get my hands on those books, and I know this is a shameless plug for myself, but I appreciate you guys endorsing my book as well. Um, I never thought I was ever going to write a book either, and I wrote a blog, and my wife read it, and she was the only one that read it. I'm like, well, that was great. You read it. So then I made her mother read it, and so I got 2 views, and so it just kind of took off. But yeah, I love everything that you guys are talking about today, and I think it's valuable for us, me and Andy, to learn from you guys and implement some stuff, and hopefully we're learning together. And who's ever going to listen to this takes a lot of value out of it too. So we appreciate you guys coming on. I'm sure we could talk forever. I'm sure. The last thing we have is just any final thoughts that you guys want to mention. Um, Anything that you think would be valuable for people to learn from this podcast and whatnot.
Stay connected. Thanks to you two, Andy and Travis, for being leaders in bringing the voice and the humanity of superintendents. We're just regular people. You know what I mean? We're just regular people. We're teachers with fancy offices, so to speak. We've got the heart of a teacher. We advocate for kids. We happen to love leadership and systems change, and we get better by learning from one another. Thank you for having this forum, and thank you for letting us be here. It's really awesome. We genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
You
Yeah,
know,
this has been very awesome.
yeah. Guys, if I can, just my closing thought would be take care of yourself, take care of your families. These are really high stress jobs. Somebody a long time ago taught me to put a post-it note inside my garage that says PILY, stands for People Inside Love You. And so no matter what you dealt with in the day, you leave it all at the door. And when you walk inside, remember that those people inside love you and they need you. And most importantly, they're going to be there when the jobs are done. We're all hired help. We're all replaceable. We're all meant to be replaced someday. And so the job thing that we do, that's temporary. The family thing is not. And so you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your family because that's the forever part. So don't forget that. The work we do is amazing, and I feel blessed to be able to do it. And so just want to make sure we all keep that balance.
That advice is so good. It's such good advice, and it doesn't just stay with superintendents. It's principals, it's teachers, it's parents, it's adults, it's kids. I mean, that advice crosses all different demographics, and I just absolutely love it. And I absolutely love that you guys came on for our first episode of the Soup podcast. Thank you so much, guys. We couldn't be more honored to have you. And we wish you guys the best of luck as you head into Christmas. Happy holidays and the rest of the school year.
Thank
Yeah, please stay safe. And I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed the last 45 minutes and the amount of learning and writing that I've been doing. So we really appreciate it.
I think we're reassured that this is something that we're going to continue to do, Andy, and we appreciate you guys helping us out with that. So thank you guys.
Wow, that was nothing short of amazing. I said before the show started that I was putting myself out there and pushing myself out of the comfort zone, but I'm sure glad that I did that. We learned quite a bit. I was taking notes the whole time that they were talking. I couldn't be more pleased with our first episode, and just glad that I pushed myself to do it.
Yeah, that was an awesome show. I mean, I was taking notes, and hopefully you at home took something from this first vodcast. Like I said, I mean, it's not hard to tell that these two guys are great leaders for their school districts, and we can all learn something. And we're excited to bring you more episodes. So this is just a taste of what's to come. We've got plenty more guests that are lined up to come on. We're going to do some giveaways. These guys are going to give us a couple signed copies of their books, so look for that when we post this. What an exciting first episode. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you probably won't hear the next episode until after the Christmas break. So we want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we hope that you have a safe and fun holiday season.
Happy holidays, everybody. This has been two brothers with one mission, bringing you this vodcast, the Supts Podcast.